G'day Eagles fans and welcome to another episode of the Inside Swoop, proudly presented by Jim Beam. Will Schofield at the desk once more. How you going?
Good mate, like Jim Beam, they get around us, we love it.
100%.
Yep.
Said about, spent 10 minutes setting JK's head up around here.
Well,
he's not looking too good.
It's actually the same size, that's life-size head of Josh Kennedy.
We'll get to him a little bit later.
Good.
Why don't we touch on the Lions first? It was another tough outing. That's the 14th straight defeat in season 2023, this time against one of the comp's best. It was disappointing they couldn't follow up the efforts from the Saints game. The 83-point margin was around where the betting line was, but could have been a lot worse. The scoring shots in inside 50 count was a major differential. But these tough starts on the road, Scully, it would be so deflating for the team because it's absolute heartbreak for the supporters. You come in at quarter time and it's almost Red Rover.
Yeah, it hasn't been a happy hunting ground, the Gabba, for West Coast for a decent amount of time. Now, it's a difficult place to play. It's different, situations. It's always different weather. They looked really hot. Not that I was there, but it looked quite hot. The Brisbane players looked fatigued as well early. So, when you don't start well in a game like that and you're chasing the game, makes it difficult. I think we heard from Simo during the week speaking about that. Actually, they pretty much, blocked up the damn walls when they did start leaking goals early, so they changed the way that they played, which made it was a bit of a tough game to watch because it was slow moving. West Coast tried to slow the game down, possess the ball, which probably mitigated the loss a little bit. And it's not how they want to play going forward, but I think that would have been concerned. You can't have huge losses week after week after week. So you'll learn, as players, you do learn stuff from those games anyway. If you change the way you play mid-game, can you adapt to it? Can you execute a defensive strategy when the game's not going your way? When the team gets better and you start doing that when there's a run of 2 goals instead of 8 goals, that's when lessons learned in games like this come to the front.
One of the performances that's being praised so heavily inside the 4 walls is that of Brady Hoth's job on dangerous small forward Charlie Cameron. Let's take a listen to Oscar Allen, who spoke about the role this week on Coast to Coast, proudly presented by, of course, Tap Touch.
Brady Hoth, I'm not sure if you've noted down anywhere, holds Charlie Cameron to 7 touches, no goals, and has 20 of his own. That is outstanding. That was one of the better games anyone has played for the club this year. Full stop. Because in a side that concedes 60-odd inside 50s, he's held the best small forward in the competition. Tim Kelly's had games where he's had 40 touches, and I'll put Hoffy's game up to that.
Well, that's great to hear, first of all, forward praising a backman. It doesn't happen very often. But, all jokes aside, Oscar Allen, a leader of the football club, a young leader, really pumping up the tyres of Brady Hoth, who, look, Charlie Cameron, one out on him at any situation. It's a really difficult task, and he's the best small forward in the game. He'll be all Australian forward pocket or forward flank. For a young guy like Brady to go and take him on head to head, beat him in a lot of one-on-one battles, very impressive.
We saw him play a lot of wing when he came back into the team. Would you like to see him just stay down there and shut down dangerous best, or would you want to see him work up the ground?
So, that was the thought that I had was, hey, it's a great game. You're getting praise from everyone. Be careful what you wish for, young fella, because you'll end up a lockdown backman for the rest of your career. And that's needed. I've played with some great lockdown backmen. Brad Shepherd, springs to mind. He found a balance between sort of attacking and locking down. So he's probably a really good resource for Brady to use, but it's a bloody hard role to play because you think about who you play on. So he's on Charlie Cameron best. You need to stop concentrating for about 5 seconds, probably less, and they kick a goal. Midfielders, they run around doing their thing, and forwards, have a few shots at goal. Hopefully they go through the big sticks. But lockdown backman against the best in the league, good luck to you, young fella, if that's what the future has in front of him.
Does he owe Duggan a few drinks, though? Did he soften him up? So the boy from Bacchus Marsh delivering one of the better hits on the day, bang, has that. That's midway through the second quarter. You're going to slow Charlie down a little bit?
I saw that, and I liked that a lot. Liam Duggan, underrated with how hard he hits. He's had a few this year where, very rarely dirty, but just a hard player. And I reckon Charlie felt a fair bit of that. And you see Duggan just gets up, shrugs it off, no worries.
Great to see Gov back, returning 13 weeks off. The vice-captain saw plenty of it. He's been subbed out at the 3-quarter time mark with 20 touches, 9 grabs. I think getting through unscathed is the biggest box to check when you've had interruptions in the last few weeks just to get back out there on the hammy again.
Well, how good's that? I didn't realise he had 20 and 9. Look, he... like you said, he's been injured for a long time. I think round 3 is the last time we saw him in West Coast colours. So speaking to him a bit during that time, he's just been absolutely dying to get out there and just help the team. So Yeah, massive positive. He gets to run injured, does a little switcheroo with Tom Cole, of course. So if those two can start playing more regular footy, they're both really important, cogs behind the footy for West Coast.
Career high 26 touches in 2015. Is he flat that he was taken off and not getting PBs on the day? Or do you not want to get a PB on a day like that?
You know what? Knowing Gov, he'd be flat as. He would be absolutely filthy. He would have been shooting for the high score. But no, he will be absolutely happy with just uninjured and being able to play next week.
Saw a lot of youth around the ball. So we've got Hewitt, Chesser on the wing, Jinby, of course, around CBD, Longy having some stints in there. Do you want to see that much game time from them for the remainder of this year, for the final 7-odd games? Or do you want to see them sprinkled in, the second change, when your Yos and Shueys come back?
I thought that was Chess's best game of the year. I thought he played really well. I thought it was Hewitt's best game of the year. Now, do you put that down to the fact they were in the midfield having more minutes, less changes? It's really difficult, whether back, forward or in the midfield, to come in and out and play different roles. And so if you are given a bit of certainty around the way you're playing, like Ruben Jimby's probably been pretty certain where he's playing each week, and you've seen his development. Now he looks like he's getting a little bit tired, but the actual certainty of role coming into a game, it's a lot easier mentally to go into, especially for young guys. So to answer your question, I like to see them in there playing. Luke Shuey knows what he's doing in there. Like, he can start in the back line and come into the midfield. Like, he can go in and out. For a young player, it's difficult to go from a mindset of maybe back line or forward, then into the midfield. You've really got to change your mindset. So I'd like to see them in there. I was really impressed. A lot of good signs.
You touched on the skipper, so he and Hearn just have to get through training this week. They pulled up sore from the Saints game. They'll get the green light if everything goes to plan. Then you've got the likes of Foley, Jamison, Clark, Petreski-Seaton, and then Winder, who hasn't played since round 1 of the Waffle. They're all going to return again, pending training. They get through. Throw Tom Cole into the mix. Do you see any of them slotting straight back into this senior side?
I watched, there was a bit of a training session last time I was in here last week, and watched that big group of players train while the other players had travelled to Brisbane. And look, they're all looking really good. Do I see them coming straight back in? No, but that's how you want it, isn't it? I don't think you want guys that have been missing in action due to injury, especially long stints, and coming straight back into the seniors. That's never what you want. So you like to see them go back to the Waffle, prove their point there. Obviously, Tom Cole was the sub, so maybe he plays a full game, and maybe the sub's up for grabs for one of those guys. But I think in general, you want them through the Waffle. You want to get some confidence back in their body, get some form, come back in. That's usually how things go. It hasn't this year for West Coast.
So we played around 30 minutes, and then they had the dreaded sprints on the ground, away from home.
Is this Coley?
Yes, it is.
Oh boy.
How many times have you done this one?
It's not good. Unfortunately, I've done it a few times. You usually cop it as the sub. Hopefully you don't cop it after you've played a full game. That generally means you've had a bit of a stinker. I've done it. I don't think I ever did it at Optus. I did quite a few times at Subi.
Well, you're getting cheered on at Optus, surely.
What you cop, and at Subiaco, I used to anyway, everyone leaves, because you go in, do the team meeting, you go get changed, get your runners on. It's sort of half hour after the game. You got the hanger-oners. You got the guys in the corporate suites that haven't moved on yet. You got maybe a couple of fans, and
who've had festive days.
It's not abuse, but it's inebriated cheering, and it's not great because you're out there by yourself. Last thing you want to hear is a couple of lads having a good time up in the stands.
Fair enough. Further surgery for Liam Ryan was announced on the St John of God injury report. Just played the 3 games this year, so just a brutal end to someone who's entering his prime at 26 years of age. He'll go in next week. Played all the 2019 and then all of the COVID-stricken 2020 season, but a couple of nicks along the way and then a major interruption to this season with injury. So how important is he that he gets right in this recovery and returns, cherry ripe in season 2023?
I mean, it's huge. His talent is probably unmatched at the football club. He's the most talented player West Coast have. So to lose him for a significant amount of time, it's disappointing, but I do think it's a positive thing that this decision hasn't been made in round 23, because what will happen now, if he's got more surgery, is that right?
That's right.
If that happens, goes on and does that, gets his recovery started, or at least has a break, gets his body right, and he can do a full off-season and pre-season with everyone. If you leave it too late in the season, you're then still playing catch-up, and then the next year's affected as well. So although it's, he'd be really disappointed and flat, I think there is some silver lining behind it.
It's been absolute scenes here at Minres Park, Scully, over the last few days. Firstly, we had open training during the school holidays where just had a monster turnout from fans. It was awesome to see the players hanging back, signing the autographs and chatting to fans. How much did you enjoy those days, particularly school holidays?
Yeah, they were good. You don't get to have that fan interaction sometimes during the year. But to be frank, when the kids come out, like that's the most enjoyable part, because you remember when you were playing, when you were a kid and you're watching AFL, if your favourites, whether it be West Coast or for me like Geelong, I still remember those times meeting players, and it might not seem much as a player, but if you have a bit of perspective as a player and you do remember back to being a kid, like just hanging out and chatting for a minute with a kid, it could be like lifelong memories. So it's pretty cool. So I did see that during the week. I saw Jake Waterman walking around the boundaries. That's huge.
Massive.
Yeah.
Great to see him around the club.
Yeah, really good. He's a massive part of the footy club. Just for a bit of insight, look, he's had to start the year, I thought he was playing some of his best footy he's played. But one thing about Jake he really adds around the club is humour and a bit of laughter. He's got a great sense of humour and the boys love him. And all of that seems like, who cares? But it's really important at footy clubs to have people like that you can actually have a laugh about, especially when you're having a bad year. I'm just stoked he's back at the footy club.
So we had the open training session. We had a rookie coaching clinic on Monday as well, where the kids got even more attention from the players. But of course, a few days prior to that, on the Saturday, was one of the more eventful finishes in the waffle season, having a draw to Perth and snapping the 19-game losing streak. Did you see any of how that panned out?
Yeah, I mean, you were commentating, so you made me watch the last 2 minutes so I could hear you having a chat. I have seen it. Look, every time there's a draw, there's going to be controversy. Like there was a mark paid, wasn't a mark, who knows? It was because it was paid, and then the goal it's really difficult to see if it crosses the line, does it hit the post? It reminded me of Hayden Ballantyne. Exactly the same post, sort of kicking from the same side when it crossed the face of goal. Goal umpire in pretty good position, called a point. That's footy, draw time. They'll probably be happy, the boys. I mean, to compete and be competitive, they only scored 100 points. I think it was 98 to 98. So there's a lot of positives there. And then we went through that big group of players set to come back. That's going to be great for the waffle team. Quality people.
They're taking on West Perth here, back at Mineral Resources Park. So it's straight after the Waffle W Grand Final between Claremont and East Freo. Bounce down's 5:10 for the Waffle. You can come on down and watch or tune into the AFL app or website and return, see some of these returning senior boys, cheer them on. But of course, the main course is happening Optus Stadium, 2:40 against the Tigers. Very winnable game on the cards here, Scully. Talk me through some of the matchups or what stands out for you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, the Tigers, since Damien Hardwick stepped away, have been really competitive. And to be frank, they always are. They're a good side. So you can say very winnable game, but they've got a very distinguishable brand. And look, they've changed a little bit, but their knock-on play-on type of footy, they get the ball moving from the midfield. They want to come out the front of stoppages. They want to move forward at all costs. So they're a really difficult team to play against because you get to defend well and you get 50-50s a lot. So you get yourselves into contests, whether it be in front of the footy or around the ball. If you win them, you can hurt them. But they pride themselves on winning those contests. So that's why they're really difficult to play on, because they're literally flip of a coin contests and they win a lot of them. So look, it'll be a really tough task. Yep, perhaps they get West Coast get a couple of guys back in Shuey and Hearn. And
no Nankervis, a big one for the Tigers, you would think.
Yeah, it is. And Bailey Williams has been outstanding this year. I thought he's been probably the most improved player at West Coast, but maybe the competition from where he's based and where he is right now. Been really competitive as a ruckman. But in saying that, I think the ruck role across the AFL is becoming less important. If you look across the other teams, Sean Darcy dominated against Carlton, but they got really touched up around stoppages. So it's more what you do around the ball rather than the ruck dominance. But I think West Coast got a real opportunity to challenge the Tigers here.
Now, round 18 means the Eagles are partnering with Telethon for the match day. A heap of cool activations going on with former Telethon stars tossing the coin. Fan zone's going to be popping off, silent discos. They go like Circus Workshops, a magician. That might be you, Scully. See if you want some more money from the club. See how you go. Player signings, though, very important. So get there early on the Western Concourse, Gate 10, for all that action. Of course, you can donate a very worthwhile cause, of course, Telethon, with the shaking tins or the QR code. Some may say it is the biggest game in WA this weekend at Optus Stadium, but one is being touted as even bigger. Your old mate, Josh Kennedy, teaming up with Mark Lacroix, playing a bit of Northampton footy against, who is it?
I think
Towns?
Yeah, Towns.
Yeah, up and about. We spoke to Josh Kennedy earlier this week about it. Why don't we have a listen?
We were able to get the waffle game up to Geraldton. We got East Fremantle playing Peel. Josh Kennedy Foundation Cup is what it's called. And the whole day is about raising money for the GNFL junior clubs, and all the money raised for the day we're going to be able to put back into the junior clubs and hopefully pay fully for all the registrations next year. So that's the main reason for the day. But the curtain raiser to the waffle game is Northampton v Towns, and myself and Mark Lacroix are playing a game together again. Lecker seems to just be getting more arrogant every year and year that he's out of the game, and he's telling me now that he won't let me kick a goal. He'll be the one to first kick a goal between us, and then it's going over my head every time he gets the footy. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But hopefully someone tags him and he doesn't get a touch, and I'll be pretty happy if that happens.
Well, that's interesting to hear. Look, hey, doing it for a good cause, that's great. I saw Josh 1 week ago. I don't know how much he's going to offer that side, mate.
Well, in terrible shape, is he?
Oh, look. I came back to the waffle. He's coming back to an amateur grade competition.
Here we go.
I don't know. Look, he's teamed up with another forward. He wants to get it easy. I hope he gets touched up, honestly, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does. He's not kicking 10.
We'll see. Lecker will be looking for him and vice versa. You can check it out. I think it's being streamed, so Harry Taylor involved as well.
Like, why didn't I get an invite down? I'd happily play for the other team.
You pulling
seriously.
a crowd, are you?
Oh, Josh Kennedy. Well, come on, mate.
Who? Right. Inside Swoop, courtesy of Jim Beam. Scully, look forward to the game review of Josh Kennedy's performance and maybe some praise for him.
Thank you very much, Steve the Magician Bandy.